Hey everyone, welcome back. If you've already seen the previous video in the series, then you know that we're going to try to cover some key elements in approaching level design as a career in game development. In this video, we're going to focus on the benefits and drawbacks that come along with going to school for game development. And in the next episode, we're going to cover trying to get into the industry as a self-learner. So if you're on the fence about which route to take, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that when the next video is out, you can watch both, compare, and hopefully you get a lot of information to work with. Just remember to do your own research. This is just a video on YouTube, and I'm not an expert on schools for game development, nor am I going to cover other disciplines besides game/level design. Now, before we just jump into things, if you aren't already, please join our Discord so you can stretch your game dev muscles and network with other people. We've got more than 3,000 people from all over the world. There's AAA developers, indie developers, students, teachers. It's a really great time. All right, let's get into this. Overall, if you go to school for game development, you have a real leg up compared to the self-learners in a lot of ways. I mean, at school, there's just an endless amount of resources at your disposal, from the professors, the textbooks, the labs, the guest speakers, the trips to studios. You'll likely get an internship, and of course, an amazing thing is that you get to learn how to collaborate with other students on the group projects. I mean, it's all there for you, right? But to me, the biggest advantage that you have going to school for game development is structure. Okay, there's assignments, there's deadlines, there's this like constant rhythm to getting things done, right? You know, you can walk in with a lot of reassurance that you're getting the right guidance from the right people. And a lot of the schools have amazing support with job placement after you graduate. Now, the thing is, school will work better for some people, and that's the kind of stuff we're going to get into. So I want you to ask yourself these two questions. What kind of student am I, and what do I expect to get out of school? Now let's look at some things that you should think about and research to help you find the answers. Okay, so first off, I would suggest you trying to figure out what type of program you want to get into and what your long-term goals for school are. So a lot of schools that offer game development programs have these fully fledged programs where you can get a bachelor's or a master's or a certificate of a professional certificate in game development. I'm talking about schools like SMU, Full Sail, the UCLA Game Lab, NYU Game Center, Carnegie Mellon, and even the Game Assembly out here in Sweden. Okay, and then there are schools that offer courses or credits in game development, but they kind of live under an umbrella of another tech-related degree, something like computer science, for example. Now, typically the schools that offer the fully fledged game development programs, they are accelerated programs, okay? So you kind of get your degree, you can get your master's degree in as little as 2 years. And we're gonna talk more about this later, but it's like an insanely focused 2 years. And for the people who end up majoring in one thing and then want to transfer into game development later, just keep in mind that you might be going to school for longer than expected, because not all of your credits might transfer. You might end up having to go to another school to get your master's degree when you already have a degree in something else. That's actually a pretty common thing, since a computer science degree feels or sounds a bit more secure than just a game development degree. So you have a lot more options to fall back on in case the whole game development thing doesn't work out for you. The key here is really to figure out how focused you want to be on game development and how long you want to be in school for. There's also a lot of online programs offered by schools now. And while there are a ton of advantages to online programs, there's one thing that I want to talk about that a lot of students maybe don't think about before signing up, and it's a big disadvantage, and that's networking. An on-campus program is going to offer you endless amounts of opportunities to network with other people. There'll be guest lecturers and the job fairs and all the professors that have direct contacts at studios, but most importantly, you're going to have all of those social gatherings with the other students to build healthy relationships with people. If relocating to a school is not an option for you, then I highly suggest that you put some money aside so that you can attend some of those bigger events at the school, or GDC, do IDGA meetups, E3 I guess, even do local game jams. Networking is super important, so it's definitely something to think about. You should also have some type of idea of what discipline you want to get into and focus on when you're in game development. Even if you go to a school with a fully fledged game development program, that specific role that you're interested in might not be a focus at all in that program. If you already know that you want to be a level designer or an environment artist or animator or whatever, and you end up going to a school without those offerings, that's going to be really unfortunate. In some cases, you might end up somewhere where there are a few courses in that discipline scattered throughout the program, but is that really going to be enough for you if you're really passionate about getting into games for that one thing? Definitely something to figure out before you start going to school, right? And on the flip side, a school with a more generalized program might be a good fit for you if you haven't had much exposure to game development and you might not know exactly where you fit in. So instead of getting your bachelor's degree in the standard 4 years, some schools offer certificates or degrees in 2 years or even as little as 1 year. These are called accelerated programs, and they're advertised by schools in a way that make you feel like they're trimming all the fat so you just get what you need so that you can graduate faster and get to work at a studio as fast as you can. Now, to me, what they're actually doing is just pushing students to graduate faster so that they can make more money, but we're not here to talk about that. What I actually want to say is that if you're not the kind of student that is used to or can handle cramming a lot of knowledge into your brain and not only handle it well while it's happening, but also retain and use that information later on, then maybe this type of program isn't really right for you. You know, some of the courses in these programs, they last as little as a few weeks to just a few months, and they'll likely consist of daily or weekly assignments from each of the classes that you're in, given to you at a breakneck speed. Now, in my opinion, these programs, I don't really know if they're really great at preparing people to work in the games industry. I mean, is a course that's only a few weeks long on environment art or level design or whatever, really enough for you to take in and learn anything more than just the basics and then also demonstrate career-ready knowledge? I don't know, maybe. Again, everybody is different, and I know a lot of people who have gone through these programs successfully and they've graduated and secured jobs, and like I said earlier, they're some of the best developers that I've worked with. This is where knowing what type of student you are really comes into play. You know, school is one of those things that you get out of it what you put into it. So there's a lot of personal accountability with being a good student. Schools are not going to say, come to our school, we're going to help you out as much as we can, but at the end of the day, if you don't work really, really hard, you're f***ed. And yes, the school and the professors do care about you and they want to see you succeed, but at the end of the day, a degree alone is not going to get you a job. If you think that going to class, completing your assignments, and participating in the group projects, pretty much doing everything that you're supposed to do is enough, it isn't. There's actually almost no way that you're going to build a strong portfolio that's going to stand out without working really hard outside of the normal school hours. Whatever the subject was covered in class, trust me, you did not learn enough about it in that time. The students that will secure a job are going to be the ones that go home and read up more about that subject. They're going to implement it into a personal project, build a prototype, do anything that they can while that information is still fresh. And they're going to be in the labs every chance they get collaborating with other students. This is almost what you need to do, and it's not easy to keep doing, especially if you have a part-time job, other commitments, or just want to have a life outside of school. There almost isn't really time for much else. For those 2 years or however long it is, school is going to be your life. And you really have to imagine yourself those 2 to 4 years down the road. I mean, how do you stack up against every other student? What do you have to offer that they don't? So start thinking about that as soon as you get accepted into a school, because when you graduate, you're going to be graduating with thousands of other students and your classmates all competing for the same jobs. Since everybody's situation is different, I want to stress again the importance of doing your own research, but also ask questions. Here are some things to consider asking a college recruiter or the head of the program at whatever school you're looking at applying to. How collaborative is the program? It's really important that you're able to practice a lot of collaboration with other students. Working in games is obviously a lot about working with other departments, and I've heard that some schools don't lean into this as much as they should. It's worth asking about the labs, like what are the hours? Can any student use them, like the non-game dev students? Are they only offered to first-year students? How often are workshops or additional lectures offered? Is console development something you're going to learn about? What tools and game engines are used? How long are the courses and what are the group projects like? You should also look into the professors and their experience. How many games have they worked on? When was the last time one of them shipped? Do they still make games? Do they have experience doing lectures and workshops? And lastly, find out either online or by calling the schools what their graduation rate is and what their job placement rate is 1 to 2 or even 3 years outside of graduation. All really important things to figure out so that you can help find what school is the right one for you. So I want to remain neutral on this, so I'm not going to start comparing schools and how much they cost, but I do just want to say that if you plan on putting yourself through school by working and trying to pay for it at the same time, it's going to be really tough for you to stay on top of all of your schoolwork. It's going to be almost impossible to do that. So what I suggest you doing is that if you're taking out loans for school, take out a little bit more than you actually need to if you can, so that you can kind of keep that money on the side to use for your living expenses and anything else that you're going to need, because you're going to want to just kind of relax and focus on school. You're really going to need to, especially if you're in one of those accelerated programs. It's worth mentioning too that if you take out a big student loan, even if you end up working at one of the best studios in the world, you're going to be spending a good portion of your paycheck and any bonus money for the first, I don't know, I guess 10 plus years, depending on paying off that student loan. And that's on top of rent and your other living expenses. So just something to think about. So there it is, a bunch of general information to hopefully help you in your journey to find the right school for you, or maybe help you decide if going to school for game development is for you at all. The information in this video was a collaborative effort between myself and a few of the other mods in the design den. So we've got Nathan Kelman, Cameron Williams, Kyle Rasmussen, and Nick Verducci. I appreciate you guys a lot. You guys rock. And to everybody else, I'll see you out there in the design den and in the next video.